Hey, this is Professor Homa. Welcome to Getting Started with your EX12, and I'll show you some of the steps to get started with this exercise or this project, which will be your final project. First thing you're going to want to do is download your folder from your CyberDuck directory and download it to where you keep all of your exercises. I'm going to go to mine right now, so I'm going to find my area where I keep my, and I kind of set it up so it looks like yours. Yours should look like this. You should have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You should also have 11 in there. I don't have 10 and 11 in there right now. But what you're going to do is this folder, you're going to download this, copy it. It will have an EX12 in there. It will have an index. It'll have images. So it'll look like it's finished, but you have a lot of work to do on it. So what you're going to do is go to brackets, and I'm going to go to brackets, and you're going to go File, Open Folder, so that you only see what's in that folder. And I'm going to go find that. So I'm going to go look here and go find where I have mine, and I have mine in my CSE 230W1 upload sample. I called myself sample, and I'm going to open that EX12 folder so I could see those files. And there is a pre-art, there's a Photoshop file in there, so if you'd want to make a new header image, that's fine. And you're going to have an index file, and you're going to have a CSS file. Now there's going to be a lot of comments in here because these are meant to help you learn about all the CSS comments, especially if this is the first time you're working with CSS in detail. Some of the stuff is done for you. Some of it, a lot of it, you're going to have to do yourself and put it in. Also, one of the things that I wanted you to get familiar with is when you open your index file is you should go to the top. You're going to have to link to your external CSS file, which is going to be this one. So if you remember to do that, link rel. And when that comes up, if you're not sure, just click on link rel and it'll tell you what to do next. And I'm going to do style sheet. And then after style sheet, and then right after this, you're going to do type. And choose type, and it's going to show text CSS, which is what we use. And then put in your ref, which is your reference of where it is. And it should look right away to the ex12.css, and then just close off that bracket, and that's the link to your style sheet. It doesn't matter what order this goes in. You could have put the ref next and then the type. So that's a self-closing tag that you have up there, and that will link to your style sheet. You're not going to see a lot because there's not going to be a lot done in your style sheet initially, but some things will be. So that's the first thing you're going to want to do with your HTML. Also with your HTML, you'll see you don't have any, there's empty quotes here, and I wanted you to go and find out so you know what these things are called. So go to your CSS, and you're going to see you're going to have a header called address top. So you could even copy this and put this in. There's address top. So that's the first part that's showing up there, and I'll just put that in there so that you know you're linking to the right parts. That's address top. That's the line that just has the address, and then the next one is called banner. So if you go to your CSS and just look down, there's banner. Now this, by the way, this one is banner pick, is actually the ID of banner pick. If you weren't sure, you could see it already has the image ID banner pick. So you know it's not going to be that one. So it's going to be banner. So we're just going to copy the word banner and put it in there. And same thing with nav ID. This one's going to be called top. I'm pretty sure that's called top already without looking at it, but I'll look at my CSS and you can see it's called nav with an ID of top. Remember, when you have the IDs in CSS, they can go right together. That kind of last name, first name, or first name, last name, however you want to look at it, they can go right together. The space is when something's inside of something, like the line item inside of nav top, but when there's an ID, it could go right against the element name. Element ID goes right together. So that one's top. The other one's section is container. So I'll go here and look for section. That's already there for you. There's an nav ID called side. And I know that because I did it, but if I go down and there's article homepage, here's nav side, and there's article homepage. I put that in homepage because we may have an article, and I skipped over this one here. We are going to have articles on other types of pages because we have 4 other pages we're going to do after this one. There won't be as much work, but we may have different H1s, different H2s on those. That's why we're going to have different IDs. They'll have articles, but the article for homepage may be different than the article you have for that. Or they may be the same. They may be similar type formatting that you use, but we want to make sure that we're not limited to just one per page. Some things will be the same on every page, like the nav. And there's some things we could do that we're not going to do. You can kind of deactivate the home button on the home page or deactivate whichever current page you're on, but we'll see how much time we have to do some of that once we start building our pages. But again, we have a footer ID. The first part is footer address. This is the one we're actually going to hide. So I'll call that, I think it's called address bottom. And if you're not sure, that's why I want you to look at your CSS. Look at what you have down at the bottom. There's address bottom. There's copyright. And if you weren't sure, probably copyright is the one that has copyright in, and address is the one that has address in. So I'm going to paste this in here. That's the wrong thing. So I'm going to go back here and look for address bottom. I'll copy that. And I'll go back to my index page and paste that in. That's address bottom. And then I have another footer. Just like I have two headers, I have two footer sections. And I'm going to go back to my CSS and go find my copyright one, and I'll copy that. And I'll go back to my index and I'll put that in. So make sure that you have no blank quotes in your HTML. I want you to be familiar with the structure of your HTML page so that you know that you have your two header sections, address top and banner. And there's just an ID for banner in case we have to do anything with the picture. We have nav that's called top with an ID of top. We have a container that contains article homepage. And the nav, another nav, which is side, which is kind of our sidebar navigation. And then our section ends. You can even put a break here if you need some more space. And then there's two footers at the bottom. Address bottom will be hidden to start, and only copyright will show, but you still have to put it in the HTML so it knows where to find it to even hide it. So this one will be actually hidden to start. And then the copyright will show, and then we'll have different styles for it as we go. So that's our CSS. You'll be starting with this from scratch, and some of it's done. And I'm just going to save my index page, and I'll save my CSS. I don't know if I did anything on there yet, but what I'll do is I'll open it up in brackets. I'll even do the preview so it opens up in a browser. And this is what you're going to have to start. So you got a lot of work to do. This is your header banner that you have here. Our element that's up here we can't even see right now. Our address isn't really showing right now. It could be in white, or we may actually have it hidden to start. So that's actually not showing up. Here's our navigation. Here's all the information on our article homepage, and here's our side nav. So everything's here. We just have to put it into place. Now, one thing I just want to look at, because this isn't showing up here, and I want to find out why. I just want to make sure I see why that part isn't showing up. So let's just look at our CSS to start. I have this one's done for you. We have our margin and padding zeroed out. We have a background color behind your page. Now in all these you're going to put something here. So you could put anything you want. You could just put a $000, and then what you can do is you could right click and do a quick edit and then just choose something. Now you could, if you're not sure, I just use kind of an off-white, so I'll use kind of an orange. You could use just something like that for now, and just hit the X button, and that puts a background on your HTML. So now if I save that and go back and look what I have, now you can see that behind everything I have that kind of peachy color right now. Okay, and going back to my CSS as well, the body, the width, we know what the width is. If you're not sure, go to your index. It's the same width as your banner image, which happens to be 960 by 240. So it's 960. That's what the width of our page is going to be. So I'm going to put that in, and that's just going to go right here. And remember, in CSS we have to put pixels. In HTML we don't. Margin, we're going to do margin. Remember, if you do two values, the top and bottom goes first, and then the left and right. So top and bottom we're going to go 0, and then left and right we're going to go auto. That's going to help center our page. So that's why we're going to use that margin auto for our body. That should center everything we have now. Now if I go to look at it, you can see it's already centered. There's our body. It's centered. It's at 960. Now some of these things obviously are outside of the page. And one thing I do want to do is just check out that header thing. Address top, background color. Oh, I have a color of white in there. That's why it's not showing up right now. If I actually went in here, it is going to be white, or it could be anything you want. But if I just put it in black right now and go here, then you should see it. So that's why I wasn't seeing that. So there's our address at the top of the page. So there's our address. So we're going to have to start putting in some of these values as we work on it. And as you go down here, you could just kind of do little bits at once. And you can look at some of your other projects that you've worked on. You shouldn't have a whole lot to do. Wherever you see something blank here, font family. This is your default font family. I like to use I like to use Calibri. I think Calibri is a nice kind of, it comes with Office, but it's a nice font. If you don't have Office, you could use Tahoma as a second choice. You could use Arial. There's other fonts you could use. And then just use Sans Serif. It comes up here. It does have a dash in it. So we'll use that as our third choice. So that's what I'm going to use for my font. That's what I used when I did it. So that takes care of the body section. And just make sure you have all your semicolons. Everything is okay as you work along. You could save as you go. And then you could focus on the header part. Now it's displayed block. You could put a background color. I used a lime color. You could use padding around it. You could change the color. You know, and I had mentioned that we were going to use 2%. So if you wanted to use at least as one of these, it says use 2% on the right and left. Maybe on the top and bottom you could use 1%. Now that might be too much. You might almost want to be like 0.5% and then 2%. 2% would be right and left. And I'll put a background color. I'll put the color white because that's what I had it. You don't have to make it white, but I'll make it white, FFF. And I'll put a background color if you want to use like a lime color, and you have to put in something to quick edit it. So I'll use, I'll start with 000, and then I'll do a quick edit. Now I used kind of a lime color. I know it's going to be hard for you to find some of these colors because I matched them to the graphic that I had. You could certainly open up that graphic and try to match it too, or I'll give you some of the colors just so you know what some of those that they use. But even just anything like this, I'll just start with this one because that looks like a lime color, and I'll go back and see what it looks like so far. And that could be I'm just trying to match this color. It could be a little browner, a little bit darker. So I'll go back and I'll go back to brackets and do a quick edit of this, and I'll just make it a little darker, a little more grayer, like that. That'll probably match up a little bit closer to this one over here. That's what I'm trying to match. Maybe even a little darker, but that looks okay. And I'm not going to center it. And actually that looks pretty good. That 0.5% and 2% lines up pretty well. So that's the header's done. I don't really have to do anything with this section, I don't believe. And then we're going to be moving on to the nav top section. And I might do this part. Well, yeah, we'll move on to the nav top section next.